Oui, Madame la mairesse suppléante, je propose d'ouvrir la séance.
Merci. Conseiller, je ne suis pas du tout pas grand-chose. Councillor from Kennesaw, can I have someone to second it?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci. Tout est bon?
Oui.
Acknowledgement of visitors. We don't have anything under point number 2. Number 3, adoption de l'ordre du jour.
Oui. Oui, je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire tenue en journement le lundi 2 octobre 2023, tel que présenté.
Merci. Conseillère Fini, est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour seconder?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Tout est bon?
Oui.
4. Approbation des procès verbaux.
Oui, Madame Promaire. Je approuve les procès-verbaux des séances du conseil tenues aux dates suivantes. Séance ordinaire du 28 août 2023, séance spéciale du 7 septembre 2023.
Qui peut le seconder?
Oui, je l'appuie, Madame la mairesse.
Tout est bon?
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. Now we're going to move to report of the mayor. Since he's absent, we have asked me to read it on his behalf. Yeah, let me just move it to the other side. Is it, can you hear? I don't think it's working at all.
Do you want to use mine?
Hello? No, it's not. Okay. Oh, but it cannot go that far. Yeah. Trying to adjust. Yeah, no.
Musical microphones.
Okay. Oh, now it's working. Merci, Patrick. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. A little bit of a glitch there, but it's solved. Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. Welcome to this regular meeting. Bienvenue à notre réunion régulière du Conseil. First, I want to apologize for not being able to attain quorum last Monday. Councillor Torres was delayed by the airlines, and both Councillor Finney and I were dealing with family issues. My family issue has kept me away tonight as well. I'm very used to doing 5 things simultaneously at 150 kilometers per hour, but it catches up to you and weighted more heavily on my shoulders. That's why I needed this small break. I want to thank my counselors for picking up some of the responsibilities. I will be back in fine form next week. This past Wednesday, Councillor Finney and our DG, Madame Rafael Di Stasio, met with the residents on Bedbrook to bring them up to date on the construction happening across the street from their homes. I likened this to the same meetings we have with residents when we reconstruct their streets. It dealt with issues regarding access to their homes, parking, noise, etc. during construction. Councillor Finney will have more details in her report. If you have driven by Bedbrook, you will see that the chalet and the pool have already been demolished. As well, the main arena building walls are also in process of demolition. Thankfully, there has not been surprises so far. The provincial government did advise us that they will accelerate the way they send us the grant money. Rather than disbursing over 10 years, they will paid in full a year after the project is completed. Councillor Fini might have more information. And finally, you will see Maître Rafael Distasio has returned from her maternity leave. It is very comforting to have her back guiding the ship. However, I would remiss that I didn't thank Valentina Todoran, our treasurer, who stepped in to keep the ship on track while Rafael was off. Under Valentina's watch, the town underwent some milestone moments, a referendum and the awarding of the contracts to build the Sports and Recreation Center. Valentina, thank you for all the extra work you shouldered. The town is well served by your care and devotion. I am happy you're a member of this great administration team and enjoy your well-deserved vacation. Please continue to stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay healthy. Bene Masala. So that was his report. Now we're going to start with Councillor's report, and we start with mine, which is usually very short. Good evening and welcome. Bonsoir à tous. During the last month, the Urban Planning Department issued 34 permits. They were given for construction of new fences, decks and porches, walkways, public interventions, renovations, construction of accessory buildings, and 2 permits for demolition. One for the little chalet next to the arena, and the other one was for the arena. During the above-mentioned period, the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, met twice, on September 6th and on the 20th. The next PAC meetings will be held on October the 11th and the 25th. The deadline to submit complete files to PAC is 2 weeks prior to the meetings. Les prochaines réunions du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme, CCU, aura lieu le 11 et le 25 octobre 2023. Les dates limites pour soumettre les dossiers complets au CCU sont de 2 semaines avant les réunions. Please remember that if you're planning to carry out works, you should always verify with the Urban Planning Department whether the projected work requires a permit or not. Recently, I've received a few phone calls and letters or emails from residents who didn't know where to go if they need a permit, whether they need it or not. And what struck me, what I found really interesting is that they asked their neighbors what was their process or what they needed to get the permits. Not all cases are the same. Although we have bylaws, the bylaws have different sections, and not all the sections apply to everybody equally. So instead of asking, I think it's fantastic that people talk to their neighbors, but please go to the Urban Planning Department, because those are the people who are qualified to tell you if you need a permit or not, and what type of permit. So please consult with us at any time. So that's it for me today, and c'est tout pour moi aujourd'hui. Si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires, n'hésitez pas de me contacter. Merci à tous et bonne soirée. Now we will continue with seat number 1, Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather, reporting on matters pertaining to public security and urban planning.
Thank you, Madame Pro-Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir à tous. So to start off, the PSOs, of course, have been focusing on the school zones since the resumption of classes. We boast 3 EMSB schools in our very small town. So, of course, we want to pay particular attention to that. Donc, la sécurité publique, à prendre attention aux zones scolaires avec le retour des étudiantes cette année. We are also working on vehicles, as our patrol car needed some extensive repairs. So you may see some of our public security officers going around in some hybrid vehicles that was ordered earlier in January, and hopefully we'll end up with a new hybrid vehicle in the coming weeks. So very environmentally friendly. We've been preparing our enforcement policy for the leaf blowers this season, as this is a season as of November 1st, 2023, where gas leaf blowers will no longer be permitted. Nous avons préparé notre politique d'application pour les souffleuses cette saison, car la saison à partir du 1er novembre 2023 où les souffleuses à gaz ne seront plus autorisées. That's a very important point. We're just around the corner from November, so very important to remember that. As always, we continually verify for building construction permits, as Councillor Torres also made the same point. Whenever we see a contractor occupying the public domain, This month, we did have an instance of work where there was no permit being used, and we noticed a contractor occupying the public domain. We then asked the contractor to immediately cease working until there was a permit in place for that project. The SPVM crime stats as well. People may be aware that on Thursday, September 21st, around 11 p.m., we were informed by the SPVM that there was an altercation on Broughton near Wolseley South between two groups of youth, possibly around 10 individuals, where witnesses heard 3 to 4 gunshots. When the police arrived, they found shell and bullet casings on the ground, and they conducted an extensive search of the area, including bringing in a K-9 unit. The police looked for any signs of bullet impacts on nearby buildings or cars, but fortunately none were found. The police also canvassed the area, speaking to residents in case anyone saw anything, and they were also ringing doorbells for any camerage footage. The PSOs also were reassured by more enhanced police presence in the area. Donc, si vous avez entendu des coups de feu le 21 septembre vers 23h, nous avons été informés par l'SPVM qu'une altercation avait lieu sur le Broughton près de Wolseley Sud entre deux groupes de jeunes, où des témoins ont entendu 3 à 4 coups de feu. À leur arrivée, les policiers ont trouvé des deuils sur le sol et ont procédé à une fouille complète du secteur, y compris avec l'aide d'une unité canine. La police a cherché des traces d'impact des balles et les bâtiments ou les voitures avoisinants, mais heureusement, il n'y avait rien trouvé. La police a également quadrillé la zone en parlant aux habitants au cas où quelqu'un aurait vu quelque chose, et il était également à la recherche d'images filmées par les sonnettes de la porte. Notre garde de sécurité publique ont constaté un déploiement rassurant des voitures de police aussi pendant le week-end. We also found a missing person suspicious bag, which was found on September the 19th at around 1 p.m. Public security was called to a cul-de-sac on Easton Avenue for suspicious abandoned bag. The bag was open, and our patrollers were able to see that there were passports and ID cards, and as well as some witchcraft books in the bag. The bag was then taken to Station 9 and was told that the passports belonged to a missing person. The PSO still had to fill out some additional paperwork, and the Quebec Provincial Police were actively involved with this case as well. Donc, il y avait personne disparue, sac suspect, le mardi 19 septembre vers 13h. La sécurité publique a été appelée par l'impasse des avenues Easton pour un sac suspect abandonné. Le sac était ouvert, et lorsque notre patrouilleur a jeté un coup d'œil, à l'intérieur, vu qu'il y avait des passeports et des cartes d'identité qui étaient trouvées. Ils ont après appelé le PDQ 9, lui dit que le passeport appartient à des personnes disparues. L'officier de la police judiciaire a dû remplir des formulaires supplémentaires car la police provinciale du Québec recherchait activement les personnes dont les cartes d'identité avaient été trouvées. Theft of a bag in Town Hall. We were having a movie filmed here on September the 10th, very early in the morning before 7 a.m. The town hall was being rented. At this time, while the filming crews were setting up, somebody actually came into Town Hall and stole somebody's backpack. The individual came in and pretended to be blending in with the crowd, quickly took the bag and then left when nobody was looking. And it was only for a short while later that someone noticed and called the police. There were some stolen ID cards as well. And also wanted to note that there was actually a person that was arrested. As you had known for the last few council meetings, I've been talking about some very directed attacks towards our seniors in terms of some very high-profile case of these anarch to scam a lot of our seniors in town. Somebody was actually arrested, so if you have been a victim of a crime, to please contact the SPVM. If you feel that you've been a victim of a crime, they may be able to, this person may be associated with the crime that you have been subjected to. On September the 19th, extra patrols were also deployed. There was an individual who's been frequenting somebody's front yard, has been having an interaction with a tree on their property. So again, if you notice somebody in the town that might be having a mental health issue or a mental crisis issue, to please contact the SPVM and make sure that there's somebody that can assist with that individual. Gas leak on September the 18th, around 11 a.m. A contractor working on a private residence severed a gas line near the foundation of a home on the 100 block of Percival. Fire crews and police and Énergie, formerly Gaz Métropolitain, responded quickly. As a precaution for the fire department had to cut power to the sector, which caused the greater inconvenience to surrounding neighborhoods as it affected a good portion of the center of town. Il y avait une fuite de gaz le 18 septembre vers 11 h le matin. Un entrepreneur travaillait sur une résidence privée a sectionné une conduite de gaz près des fondations d'une maison située dans la pâté de maison 100 de Percival. Les équipes de pompiers, la police et l'énergie sont intervenues rapidement. Le quartier l'environnement qui est affecté une bonne partie de centre-ville. Le courant a été réétabli quelques heures plus tard lorsque la fuite était réparée. Again, going back to the leaf blowing, so leaf blowing for a period of spring cleaning from April 15th to May 1st and from November 1st to November 30th for fall cleanup. Outside the two periods, the use of leaf blowers and leaf vacuums is strictly prohibited. This year, however, gas-powered leaf blowers and vacuums will be prohibited from beginning use in the town as November 1st, as per our nuisance bylaw, Article 8.2. This means that only electric-corded or battery-powered leaf blowers will be permitted to be used during the leaf blower usage period from November 1st through November 30th. Comme chacun le sait, l'utilisation des souffleuses est limitée depuis 2009 à une période de 2 semaines pour le nettoyage de printemps, de 15 avril au 1er mai et du 1er novembre au 30 novembre pour le nettoyage d'automne. En dehors de ces deux périodes, l'utilisation des flûteuses et aspirateurs de feu est strictement interdite. Cette année, cependant, les souffleuses et aspirateurs de feu à l'essence ne pourront pas être utilisés en ville à partir de novembre 2023. So, residents, to give people an idea, fines for non-compliance are $300 plus court fees for an individual, which is a $459 total fine, and $600 court fee for a company, which is $917 total. Donc, les amendes pour les non-conformités sont $300 plus les frais de justice pour la personne physique, donc $449 total, et de $600 plus les frais pour une entreprise, donc $917 total. Donc, ça termine mon rapport pour ce soir. This is the conclusion of my report this evening, a little bit longer than usual, but there was a lot of action in the town this past month. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can just send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Father. Next is seat number 2, Councillor Elizabeth Hewlin will report on matters pertaining to public works, communications, and environment.
Thank you very much. Mine will be pretty short, but bonsoir à tous. Public Works is undertaking road and sidewalk repairs all around town. Tree maintenance is ongoing, and as usual, urgent attention is being paid to the trees that threaten public security. The street sweeper will continue to go out as long as the weather permits in October, and it certainly looks like it's going to permit for a while longer, so we should have the streets clean for a while more yet. Public Works crews will begin preparing the town green spaces, including the flower beds, for winter later this month. In the environment portfolio, the Environmental Action Committee had its first post-summer meeting last month and will be working on a variety of projects this season, including a review of our wood-burning regulations, increasing biodiversity in the town, studying the potential for bike routes on the territory, and better waste management strategies. Et finalement, le service de communication a préparé les différentes communications relatives au nouveau centre sportif et récréatif et a collaboré avec les autres services sur la préparation de brochures, d'avis et d'événements. So that's short and sweet. I'd be pleased if you wanted to ask any questions about this at question period. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Elizabeth Hewlin. Next, it's seat number 3, Councillor Colleen Feeney reporting on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of age-friendly municipality.
Thank you, Madam Pro-Mayor, and good evening. Bonsoir tout le monde. So I will start with the finance part. The deadline for sending in your water meter readings was September the 25th. Invoices will be sent out on October the 24th. The department is currently working on property tax adjustments due to administrative reviews started, and they're processing these now based on the changes in assessment certificates which have been received from the City of Montreal. Et l'hôtel de ville sera fermé le lundi 9 octobre pour le jour de l'Action de grâce. Continuing in finance, you'll see later in the meeting we are going to be passing disbursements of $633,706 to let you know as residents where your money has gone. About half of that was related to deductions at source and utilities. That's quite normal. And of the remaining $300,000, the main expenditures were $61,000 for garbage and recycling, $31,000 for outside contract work in public works, which included street lighting, electricity, sewer cleaning, and traffic light repairs, $28,000 for gravel and asphalt for street and sidewalk repairs, $24,000 for insurance, particularly cyber risk insurance, $20,000 for public works equipment, and $20,000 in property tax reimbursements due to valuation adjustments. I'll move on now to recreation, and we'll start with the community center, where the fall programs have all started. We've added a few new fitness classes, and that includes eccentrics for men and step and pump. And other new programs are Dungeons and Dragons for children, and 2 classes on Saturday morning, and also Mahjong, which is a card game for adults. There will be a Red Cross babysitting class on November the 19th, and that is geared for 13 to 18-year-olds. So please sign up for that if that is of interest to you. Now, we have a few special events coming up, and a lot of them are going to be fundraising for the new Sports and Recreation Center. The first one of these is going to be on Friday, October the 20th at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall, and it will have a live band. The tickets are $30 for residents, and it will include food, drinks for sale, sausage, sauerkraut, etc., the kinds of things that you expect at an Oktoberfest. And tickets, as always, are available on Amelia, the Amelia system. We will also be having on October the 29th from 2 to 4 p.m. A Halloween special called the Spooktacular Family Fun. Plaisir effrayant en famille. Venez déguiser et profiter de cette activité familiale amusante. Comprend un spectacle LED, Spooky Spectacular, de l'artisan et des friandises. Dimanche, le 29 octobre, de 13h à 15h, et le spectacle aura lieu à 14h. So dress up in your Halloween best outfits and come on and support that. Also, we are very proud of the Remembrance Day events that we have, and this year as well, we are going to be having several. So just mark these on your calendar. There'll be more information later. It will include a walk to remember, and that will be on November the 4th. The ceremony, which will be held at on November the 5th. There'll be lectures also on November the 10th. So see the website, please, for more information. And if you've never been to these events, I really encourage you to come. They really are very meaningful. Then in December, we are going to be having a rock and roll dance party on December the 1st with the live band Vintage Wine. And again, tickets are available on Amelia. Onto the artist showcase. The deadline for the submission for the fall showcase was September the 29th. The theme was Seascapes and Summer Memories. Onto the arena now and the new recreation center. Just want to have a big thank you here. There was a lot of work done to empty the arena, and it was completed in late August by a team of recreation employees who reorganized and inventoried all the items leaving the rink in a very short period of time and created temporary storage behind the basketball courts using different containers for the duration of the construction. So a very big thank you goes out to all the employees who helped the recreation blue-collar team, who worked extremely hard to meet a very tight deadline, which allowed us to keep the pool open until the very last day before we handed over the key to the building. So way to go, team. We really appreciated it. And as the mayor had mentioned in his report, the demolition is going well. La démolition du chalet, de la piscine et de l'arène a commencé juste après la fermeture de la piscine et les progrès sont stupéfiants. Le chalet et la piscine ont été démolis au cours des 2 premières semaines et il ne reste plus que le toit de l'arène. I encourage you to take a little walk along Hudson Field to see the progress of the demolition. It is really going well. And also, just to expand a little bit on the mayor's report, last week the town did hold a meeting with residents living in close proximity to the construction zone. This is really what we usually do. So that would include residents on Bedbrook, Fairfield Crescent, and Nelson. Myself and the Director General attended. And we were meeting with residents to discuss whatever they wanted to bring up, to present to them specific timelines that we have, target dates, etc. So I think we had an extremely fruitful conversation. We discussed communications, we discussed parking, traffic, noise, demolition, damage claims, timelines, and etc. And in fact, it was very well attended and as I say, very fruitful. And so we're going to keep those open lines of communication with this group. So if they have things to add, they've been told where to submit their queries. And then finally, on the Seniors Club, there's been a lot of activities upcoming for the 50-plus club. And the members were sent a very large brochure of what was happening, and that includes a visit to a cranberry farm on October the 5th, and a trip to the Botanical Gardens on October 17th in the evening to view the Japanese, the First Nations, and the Chinese gardens illuminated at night. And finally, in the seniors portfolio still, but very, very important, there will be a MATA consultation held on Saturday, October the 21st from 1 to 3:30 right here in this room in the town hall. The consultation will bring residents up to date on the progress of the age-friendly policy, and we also want to get your input on future priorities. There will be information available on issues pertinent to seniors, and we have a keynote speaker for this event who will be the Montréal-Ouest resident, Dr. Natalie Phillips. Dr. Phillips is a neuropsychologist and professor in the Department of Psychology at Concordia University, as well as Concordia University Research Chair in Sensory Cognitive Health in Aging and Dementia. And her research focuses on investigating relationships between our sensory health and our cognitive health and our brain health in aging. So I am sure her talk will be very interesting and informative, and I really invite everybody to come along and participate in the consultation. We really want to hear from you. Et puis, si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à m'envoyer un courriel ou à me les poser plus tard au cours de cette réunion. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Councillor Finney. Now we'll be moving on to the first public question period. At our first question period, we will answer questions from the floor for a maximum of 25 minutes. We will limit it to 2 questions per person. A short preamble, your first question, and a follow-up question if you want. I will remind you, it is a question period and not a debate period. After the question from the floor, we will answer questions from residents that had been submitted online up until 2 p.m. today on any topic. The same rules apply, 25 minutes total and 2 questions per person maximum. In the second question period, we will take questions pertaining to the agenda submitted via our website during this meeting. We will limit it to 10 minutes from the floor and 10 minutes from online. Lors de notre première période de questions, nous répondrons aux questions de la salle pendant un maximum de 25 minutes. Nous les limiterons à 2 questions par personne. Un court préambule, votre première question et une question de suivre si vous le souhaitez. Et je vous rappelle que c'est une période de questions et non une période de débat. Après les questions de la salle, nous répondrons aux questions des résidents qui avaient été soumis en ligne jusqu'à 14 heures aujourd'hui sur n'importe quel sujet. Les mêmes règles s'appliquent. 25 minutes au total, 25 minutes aux résidents qui avaient été soumis. Oh, je m'excuse. Les mêmes règles s'appliquent. 25 minutes au total de 2 questions par personne maximum. Lorsque de la deuxième période de questions, nous répondrons aux questions relatives à l'ordre du jour soumis via notre site Internet lors de cette réunion. Nous les limiterons à 10 minutes depuis la salle et 10 minutes pour online. We're going to start with the first question. Is from Mrs. Merle McPhail of 8023. Oh, I'm sorry. We start with the floor. You're absolutely right. Do we have any questions from the floor? Thank you.
My name is Daniel Marcuz, 446 Woolsey North. My question is for Councillor Yulin. Well, thankfully, the Public Works was able to find the cone that you somehow couldn't find when the last question period. In any case, there are some more cones, orange cones in the city, in the town, particularly the one on the west side of Northview. There's a big hole in the road, big hole in the sidewalk.
What?
Northview.
Northview, okay.
If you want, I have a picture. It's a huge hole in the road surface, a huge hole in the sidewalk, and well, first of all, it has to be repaired, and secondly, if something happens, the town is going to pay a lot of money for that. And that cone has been there for probably a year. It's about time that area would be fixed. That's number one. There's another area, it's east of Westminster on Northview. There's a patch that was, there was a repair job done a few months ago, but the job has not been finished. It's gravel rather than asphalt.
So I will bring both of those up at my next meeting with the director, and he always gets the notes from these meetings. So I'll be sure to let him know that. And I don't have an answer for you on the floor tonight, what's happening with those repairs, but for sure he'll be notified about them.
That cone on Northview on the west side has been there for a year.
Well, I'll certainly, yeah.
I'd like to show you and the council.
Sure, absolutely.
I think it's time to fix it.
Yeah, I see. Okay. You want to send that to me?
Absolutely.
Okay, please do. And when you send it, Mr. Marcuz, note the location. Yeah. Yeah, we have. You know, have you made a complaint on the Public Works form on the website? Okay, so that's always a good. That's honestly that's the best thing to do, because you know you can wait and speak to us at a meeting, but you can immediately, when you see something like that, you can put it on a forum on the website, and then we have the date that it was reported. And you know, you're saying it's been a year, and I take you at your word, but
there's an orange cone there.
yeah,
Obviously somebody put it there.
no, I'm sure, I'm sure, but to alert them that it's a concern of yours, you should be making a report on the website as soon as you see it.
I mean, if somebody walks at night.
No, I understand what you're saying. You know, you're not wrong, but I'm just suggesting that another avenue. You may come to the meetings, of course. You may email me separately if you like, but putting a request in on the website is the most efficient way to get it to Public Works.
Okay, there's one more item. Edinburgh School. They put the garbage in plastic bags on Hudson, and animals that you know, they enjoy the food or whatever it is there, and after the garbage is being clean and picked up, the whole street is messy.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we're working on, and you perhaps because you come to these meetings often, would remember that we're revisiting our waste management bylaw, and that will be addressed in the new bylaw when it comes to pass. So we don't disagree on that. We need to get rid of that method of getting rid of your waste.
You know that in Côte Saint-Luc they don't accept garbage
I understand.
bags.
Well, we're looking at something very similar.
It has to be, because it really is terrible.
I agree. Thanks for your question.
One last comment, not a question. It's funny that when there's something personal that some residents have to say, they come in big numbers and they say a lot of things, but then, like today, nobody shows up. I guess people are just interested in what they are,
Everybody's happy. That's why.
Sorry?
Everybody's happy.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. But
Well,
no, it's just that I don't understand why people don't
no.
show interest in what's
Yeah.
happening.
Well, anyway, we thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Marcusi. Do we have somebody else? Another question from the floor? Okay. Please state your name and address.
Socrates Focus, 24 Westover. It's my first attending this kind of meeting.
Welcome.
So, good evening, ladies, Monsieur Gilbert. My question is pretty straightforward. Hopefully some of you or all of you are aware of some of the difficulties and challenges that a small number of us on Westover, between Westminster and Sunnybrook, so that stretch, face regularly. Primarily it's traffic related. So unlike some of the other streets within Montreal-Ouest, we don't have the privilege of having speed bumps or additional. We do have a stop sign that was put in, I believe, a couple of years ago towards Sunnybrook. But we have a real problem with people using that lane coming in from Côte Saint-Luc Road as a shortcut to Westminster in order to get south. My neighbor, who is more active than myself, has been in the city. I'm sure you're aware of Camilo. Has asked this question some time ago, and I believe the answer came back a couple of years ago. I'm sorry if I'm a bit long-winded, but a couple of years ago, the answer was, we are working on it. So my question to the committee is, are there any immediate or midterm plans as to what may transpire in order to alleviate the speed and the degree of cars? I suppose the degree we have less control of, but certainly the speed of which, and some of the newer members on that street have children. I don't. I have an older child, and my neighbor doesn't have either. The children are moved along. But that is a growing problem. And my follow-up question, because I think I heard I have a follow-up question, is a straightforward question. Perhaps somebody on the floor can answer it. Why was the flashing red light removed from Westminster and Westover? It is a constant cacophony of beeping that happens. I work from home a number of days on Westover, and it's incessant, the amount of beeping, because nobody makes that stop properly. So I'd like to know what happened to that flashing red light, which wasn't perfect, but I believe it's gotten much worse without it.
Okay.
It belongs to Côte Saint-Luc.
I will ask Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather to answer you.
So could you just repeat your family name, please?
Focus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Focus, because we had a similar question from Mr. Niti, who's also asked a very similar question, so I just want to make sure. Okay, very good. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. So yes, Mr. Marcusi is correct. That flashing light belongs to Côte Saint-Luc, and we've had other people make a comment about that light as well. So we can inquire as to, if they can reinstall that light if we feel that there's a benefit to having that light. So I can speak to a counterpart in Côte Saint-Luc to have a better understanding of why it was removed, and I can actually ask our PSO, who might have a little bit more information on this. He might be able to share some information, so I'll be able to get back to you. And in terms of your traffic control measures for that particular area, So there's a community safety committee that I chair, and there are some residents. Mr. Marcuzzi is one of those residents who volunteers on that committee, and we look at particular community safety issues, including traffic and safety mitigation measures that we can put in place. I'm currently looking at Westminster, of its where the jurisdiction was within the town of Montreal-West, and looking where there are pinch points along Westminster, because it's a heavy trafficked area, and where we can have some improvements. So I will add this. Our next meeting is at the end of October. I'll add this request to that agenda, and then I should be able to get back to you following that meeting. And if you want to send me an email so I can just get your information, or I can also share with Mr. Niti as well. I have his email, but we will raise that as well, where we can look at some additional traffic calming measures, traffic mitigation measures. And I understand there are significant safety issues in that particular area. And as you know, along the whole stretch of Westminster within the town boundaries, excuse me, there are a number of safety issues. So I will be able to get back to you after that October meeting and let you know what we'll be able to do in that particular area, and maybe get you a more fulsome response with regards to why that flashing light was removed by the city of Côte Saint-Luc.
Can I just ask you, is there, I imagine there is some cooperation, some ongoing communication with the city of Côte Saint-Luc?
It might have been a conversation between our public security officers and not at the council level.
Because you did, because you did bring up quite vehemently the whole point of gas-driven blowers, leaf blowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a real issue with that across the street, which is not our jurisdiction, of course. So Montreal-Ouest, it happens to be Côte Saint-Luc, to the point where I had to speak to the individual who looks after the condominium building on Westminster and Westover, and question him if it's beyond the acceptable decibel level. So just going back to my point, I think we sometimes feel like we've forgotten ones on that particular street. Maybe it's unfounded, maybe it is, but one of the challenges, of course, is being across the street from a different jurisdiction and then doing things that Montreal-Ouest does not do. So it would be nice, even more than nice, to have some degree of knowledge as to whether there is participation, cooperation,
Sure.
something. But
And I do know that even at the mayor's level, for sure, that he does meet with his counterpart, Mayor Brownstein, in Côte Saint-Luc and other neighboring municipalities, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, Lachine, and others. And I have myself wanted to maybe meet annually with some of the other public security counselors if we have some shared issues. And also coming out of COVID, now we probably will be able to have some more of those meetings now that we're returning back in person and doing that kind of business face-to-face.
that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sure, you can.
Good evening. And my question is to, my name is Cam D'Alessio, and I live on 464 Ballantyne,
Mr. D'Alessio.
and I've been there for the last 46 years. This is the first time I come to this meeting. I phoned a few times. I spoke to Miss Small Pinafore once, and I called other times. I didn't get called back. And was always for the same questions. The last couple of years, the traffic has tremendously increased on that street due to the people that are cutting over from Côte Saint-Luc to Sunnybrook, Westover, down to Westminster. And many of them not only speeding, but they go at 50, 60, 70 kilometers an hour, that little stretch. Last year we installed a stop sign at the Brook and Westover, and I don't see why we cannot put put another stop sign on Ballantyne and Westover. This we can do now. We don't have to wait to go to Luke or Montreal or anyone else to put that stop sign there now. Also, there's no speed limit sign. People don't know what speed they're supposed to have, their minimum or maximum. We can put a speed bump. We can do anything, but there's more than just kids. There's elder people that crosses the street. Sometimes you have these wheelchairs that goes by. Last year, right in front of my house, a cat was killed. They can't stop. If they go at 50, 60 miles an hour, kilometers an hour, you can't stop. So it's up to us to do now. Let's just do without the check the traffic, or to at least to verify, because they told me that there's a study going on. But the study, we're giving you the study. We live a day by day. We live the traffic. There's no magic solution. Just put something to slow down the people. The cars are just going too fast. And before something happens, I hope not, people get injured or even worse. So, see whatever you can do. The earlier the better. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. D'Alessio. And we did speak a couple of times. I did receive your message today, but did not have a chance to call you back today. There was a traffic study conducted on that portion of your street, and we do actually have to see for speed bumps. There actually are regulations in place of where you can and cannot put a speed bump on a street, but I do recognize your concerns, and if there are signs that we can put in place, that we will do that. I will get back to you once I have the results back from excuse me, that particular study that was conducted, because there is a baseline of what is considered, because I also live on a street where there's a lot of speeding, and I completely understand your concerns, but we do have to put in remedial measures in place when we get the results back to see if there is something that we can do. But I take your point of there being a lack of signage, and we could look at definitely putting some signs in there, and I'll make sure I speak with Mr. Demetrios to see if there are some places that we can work on, in particular of that part of the street for you.
Maybe we can also, like my neighbor was saying, get together with St. Luke, because there is no stop sign on the other side as well. On Cranbrook, there's no stop sign. And as far as I know, Montreal-West, every corner, every street corner has a stop sign, except Ballantyne now. Before used to be also Brock, but Ballantyne. And I don't see no reason why not.
I take your point. Thank you, Mr. Alessio.
Thank you, Mr. Alessio. At this point, because do we have any other questions? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Cynthia Nichols, 25 Westminster South. I have a lot of questions. I guess the main concern would be crime. Lauren, is it up to that extent where we are actually, I've been complaining about things for years now. Being here on Westminster, I've experienced quite a bit. But the increase in crime in this town seems to be quite high. Do we have any statistics on that, or?
Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Nichols. So our stats that come from Station 9, which is on the corner of Côte St. Luc and Westminster, group our stats in with Hampstead, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, and Montreal-West. They haven't been able to find a way to actually give us our own stats that belong to Montreal-West, but what I can tell you is yes, there have been some serious incidents that have taken place. We're not a gated community, as you're aware, and as such, like the rest of Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, Côte-Saint-Luc, and Hampstead, sometimes from time to time we do see some more serious criminal issues taking place. We continue to collaborate with our partners, which is the SPVM, who have the mandate to enforce criminal legislation. Our PSOs do not. Our PSOs are not armed, but if they do witness or see something, or if they're called by a resident, they will get in touch with the authorities to make sure that they are called to address any kind of incidents. And to be honest with you, aside from that that particular incident with the shooting, and if you recall last year there was another one, it's people that are transiting through the area.
Exactly. Yes.
So I recognize
and thank
that.
goodness we're not a gated community, because that brings a whole different level of problems. But is there anything we can do to stop some of the flow of? I mean, we never had this problem with cars coming up and everything else. I mean, the traffic is incredible on Westminster. It really is. We sit there and we're stunned. It's as if we're living in inner city New York or Chicago or some place that we should not be experiencing that type of traffic.
Yeah, so
But
the SPD.
I mean, Claude and I today were standing at the light, and we couldn't get across. It was just that intense. It took a while to get across.
Yeah, so the SPM, again, having the mandate for the criminal code has increased their presence. You may notice it and you may not, because you know that they have operations that we're not particularly privy to. So, you know, we do have an enhanced SPVM in our area, but as you know, there is increased crime across the city of Montreal, across the country, across the province, and unfortunately we're not immune to that. But the SPVM does continue to have a number of initiatives that they have personally underway. But because we don't have the mandate, we can continue to collaborate with our partners. But in terms of actually addressing crime specifically, we don't have a mandate for any kind of criminal activity under that code.
I remember when I moved here some almost 30 years ago, whatever, we did have our own, was it not police? Was Tom a policeman? Public security, okay. Okay, but getting to the reason for my attending tonight's meeting, which I'm really, really surprised that we've had the various different cancellations of all the meetings, and today, here we are on the day where Canada is recognizing the truth and reconciliation for the Aboriginal peoples of this land, and we're having a council meeting. I thought, well, let me put it to you this way. Does Montreal-West have the ability to declare a holiday? Because this is, I mean, we've always sided with Canada as opposed to Quebec. So I'm just wondering about, you know, the politics of that.
If I can actually, Ms. Nichols, so it was September 30th was the statutory day that was declared September 30th. Today is not September 30th, but as you've seen in council, we do have the flag displayed in front of council. So we do display the flag for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, the survivor's flag. We published an article as well as why we fly the survivor's flag, but it is a federal statutory day. It's not a municipal or a provincial day, and we are partners in that, and that's why we display the flag. And as I said, September.
And provincial holiday.
It's not a statutory day in a municipal or provincial.
But didn't the rest of Canada, all of the other provinces, take a day?
It's only federal. It's only federal.
Only federal.
Only federal.
Okay. So in the rest of Canada, they have a holiday to recognize the atrocities that were committed against the First Peoples of this land. And here in Montreal-West, we side with everything else with Canada, but for this, we're not siding with Canada?
No, not at all. It's a federal statutory day. It's not a statutory day in any municipality or any province, as far as I know. And again, we stand in solidarity by displaying the survivors flag in front of Town Hall, as you've probably seen walking into Town Hall this evening.
Okay. So it's just that we are over our 25 minutes by a long shot. I'm sorry. Maybe next time you can ask another question. I don't think so. I don't think we have the potential of doing it. I will look into it. I will ask, but okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nichols. So now we're going to move on to the questions that were asked online. The first one comes from Mrs. Merle McPhail from 8023 Avon Road. When will Avon Road be paved? Turcotte Yard work long finished, or has money promised been spent elsewhere? If I can have Councillor Ulen to answer that question.
Sure. Thanks very much for your question, Merle. Well, so this depends on a couple of things for us. Avon, of course, will be paved at some point, but right now we have the Easton project still being constructed, so it doesn't make sense to be paving it while they're still working on the building there. We've got a lot going on in that corner already, so we don't want to add more to that. We're also going to be in discussions with Montreal with some hopes that they will help and we can work together with them on the reconstruction, and it will be more financially feasible for us to do the work. So we've got a couple of things in the mix there. We should know more, hopefully by the end of the year, what the time frame will be for that. Thanks for your question, Merle.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. Next question comes from Mrs. Elaine O'Reilly of 139 Percival. Has the Town Recreation Center Committee given any thoughts to finding an alternative to disposable cups for the next fundraising at the Town Hall? Perhaps a commemorative beer cup, wine goblet, or shot glass? I, for one, would be happy to purchase these and reuse them throughout the night. There were garbage bins full of plastic single-use cups at the last fundraising. Not really acceptable for a town that prides itself on environmental awareness. Councillor Yuling?
Yes, thanks very much for your question, Elaine. I couldn't agree more. I think it's great that you asked that question, and it will be certainly up for discussion at our caucus meetings, and I'll bring this not only to the Environment Department, but I hope to speak about it with the Rec Department as well, and we shouldn't be using disposable cups or anything else if we can help it. So thanks very much for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Yuling. Next question comes from Joanna Dewey of 232 Percival Avenue. Dear Town Council members, I have two questions, both regarding the new sports and recreation facility. First, has a project manager been hired, and if so, do they have PMP certification? And the second one is, my understanding is that once constructed, the town will oversee the operations of the new facility, while the CRA will provide programming. Does the CRA have a legal agreement with the town to provide these services? And if so, is it publicly available? Councillor Feeney?
Yes. Thank you very much for your question, Joanne. We'll start with the first one. Has a project manager been hired? Yes, we passed a resolution at our council meeting on June the 27th, awarding the contract of project management to SEMA Plus. And they are a team of professionals with decades of experience, and the project manager there has a engineering degree and a master's of engineering degree and a PMP. So yes, I think they're extremely well qualified, and we're in good hands. Your second question is, first of all, your understanding is incorrect. You say that you've heard that the town will oversee the operations and CRA will provide the programming. The town, as it currently does now, oversees operations, and the town, as it currently does now, has a lot of programming on their own, the fitness programs and a lot of the programs that we have at the community center and here at the town hall. So the town will continue to be operating all of those things. Does the CRA have a legal agreement with the town to provide services, and if so, is it publicly available? So what has been done in the past in terms of the CRA provided the hockey programs, for instance, and a lot of the outdoor programs, and they rented time at our facilities. So there's no legal document that has been signed yet. Certainly we are in discussions with the CRA, and if it goes as it did in the past, then maybe that's the situation that will be set up. But it's not as if the CRA is doing all the programming at the new arena. So hope that answers your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Finney. Oh, it went again. Oops. The next three questions are related to the temporary dog park that we have close to the arena right now. I'm going to read the three questions since they're related, and then I'm going to ask Councillor Small Pennyfather to answer them. The first one is from Bonnie Mitchell from 134 Curzon Street. My question is whether there will be a dog park for the winter this year. I'm asking that you consider putting one either at Hudson's Field or another convenient location close by, please. There are so many dogs and we need a place to let them run this winter. Thank you. The next one is from Anne McLaughlin, 59 Strather. Is it possible to build a temp dog park for this winter in the park at Curzon and Bedbrook? Is the outdoor rink going to be built there? If yes, could a temp fence be installed at the entrance of the rink so we could use it until it's cold enough for ice? Thanks. And the last one is from Linda Hammersmith, 226 Valentine North. Question 1, what is council prepared to do to accommodate all the dog owners who live north of the tracks so that we might have a replacement temporary winter dog run akin to the one we had on Hudson for the past several years? And B, can council request the EMSB for a little extra space parallel to the area that was granted for cars on Percival Field, or to run along the back overlooking the train tracks? Last, what final is the and this is an unrelated question, so I'm going to ask Councillor Small Pennyfather to answer these ones.
Okay. Thank you, Madame Pro-Mayor. So thank you for your question, Ms. Mitchell, Anne McLaughlin, and Linda. As you know, we've had several questions, similar questions over the course of the last several council meetings and prior to this as well with regards to an additional dog park in the area. As you know, there was significant consultations that went on before we landed on the dog park that is currently next to Town Hall. And that was because a number of the other green areas that have been proposed, including George Booth Park, have residents that are in very close proximity to those green spaces. So for the time being, we actually don't have an alternative to suggest other than residents bringing their dogs to the dog park next to Town Hall. With regards to Hodgkins Field, as you know, that's under construction right now, so we wouldn't be able to put up a temporary dog park for the winter in that area. And Percival Park, as Linda, you noted, which is under EMSB, their students actually use those green spaces, and it would not be compatible to have a dog park that would be in close proximity to children that are playing outside. So for the time being, as I've stated in previous council meetings, the only viable option right now is next to Town Hall, and if something comes up, we'll certainly examine potential for that. But as I said, there were years and years of consultation of a number of green spaces in the town, and that's why we landed on the space that's next to Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Small Pennyfather. Linda Hammersmith of 226 Valentine North also asked, she had a second question, which is, what finally is the interest rate on the loan amount the town took? And I'm assuming we're talking about the new recreation center.
Yeah, okay. Yes, thank you very much for your question, Linda. Well, the fact is we haven't taken that loan yet. We've been able to manage with our accumulated surpluses so far, appropriated surpluses so far. So we will be taking loans as we need them progressively in the new year. And at that point in time, we will certainly be going out to bids, and you will hear in a public meeting what interest rate we're going to be getting. So that hasn't been done. What you will hear a little bit later in the meeting, and I'll just bring it up so that it doesn't confuse you, The government previously, for the grant, we've received over $16 million in grants because the provincial upped their amount. And previously, we would be getting that over 20 years, sorry, but now they're giving it at the end of the project. So it's changed the kind of financing that we have to do. So we will go to financing, short-term financing for that 16 million. And as needed, going along the way. But that's not the long-term loan that we're talking about, and that will be paid off, of course, as soon as we get the government grants upon completion of the project. So you'll hear about that later. But the bottom line is we have not taken that long-term loan yet, and when we do, it will be passed at a public meeting. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Finney. Next question is from Mr. Farah Issa. When of 307 Promenade, Ronald, when will the project Easton terminate in closing of streets and creating traffic jams along Avon Road plus pollution? This project has been going on for nearly 3 years. This contractor has been awarded to complete the recreation center and pool project. Hopefully it will have a time frame factor in this contract. Thank you. I will answer that question. The last date that we got from the construction company for the Eastern project is at the end of December, this coming up December. However, I have to say that if they're not finished or if they need any further time, they can always ask for another permit. But they're about to finish at least the exterior, so they can then move off to the main building. I don't have anything in written. If you want to have something else, we'll let you know in the future, or we can find out for you. You also mentioned that the has been awarded to complete recreation center and pool project. Hopefully, we'll have a time factor. We do have in the contract, we have guidelines. More than time related is when they have to finish different stages of the recreation center. I hope that answers your question. Now moving on to, my next one is from Mr. Anthony Nitti, which I'm going to read the question, but I think Councillor Small-Pennefather already answered those questions. Mr. Anthony Nitti is 463 Avenue, Valentine North. He says, hello, is it possible to have a traffic control measure review for Westover between Westminster and North Brock? Car speed in both directions, however, the north side is City of Coatzacoalcos. Given that the south side belongs to Montréal-Ouest, would it be possible to study the possibilities of installing a stop sign and speed limit sign at the corner of Westover and Valentine North to slow down traffic? It is dangerous for young children, and I have already been witness to some close calls. Are speed bumps also a possibility? I hope that you got the answers from the answer that Councillor Small-Pennefather gave before. Next, we'll move to question by Michael Ellie from 62 Promenade, Ronald. When will the green space on the hill between Ronald and Courtney be repaired? It was in bad shape before the flood. It was not maintained or cleaned, but it has been in terrible shape since. It is an unsafe space adjacent to 2 daycares and overgrown. And then he has a second question. Why can we not speak to someone at Public Works? Since COVID, you leave a message or email and then hope someone gets back to you eventually. Can we please have the person on staff that does reply to these messages start answering the phone and questions during regular business hours? Councillor Ewing, if you can answer these questions,
Certainly,
please.
thank you. Thank you for your question, Michael. I do, yes, of course, we know about the staircase and the green space near Ronald there, and it's terribly damaged, which is why it's been sort of roped off and can't be used. We're currently doing an analysis of what can be done and what's feasible to do. So we'll have to wait on that to do a little bit more analysis about what to do with that area. In terms of having somebody at Public Works that can call you back, we're working on that too. There have been some difficulties, as you mentioned, since COVID, getting that staffed fully. All I can say is we're working on that, and we know what you're talking about and appreciate you bringing it to our attention again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. Next question is from Mr. Peter Cooney from 101 Brock South, wondering when they will pave Avon. No answer. Nobody answered me regarding the many cars now parking on both sides of Avon between Brock South and the Eventide home. Is this not Montreal-West jurisdiction for overnight parking restrictions? We pay home taxes for this area. Someone said it is City of Montreal. Please correspond. Thanks, Peter. Councillor Small-Pennefather, if you can answer this.
Sure, I'll answer the second part, and I believe Councillor Yulin answered this in the first question for about paving Avon. But with regards, Mr. Cooney, thank you for your question. Your question was actually answered at the council meeting in June, and I will send you an email in case you're not hearing the recordings. But there are residents with parking permits in this area on the Montreal-West side, and our public security officers cover that area at night. So just in case you haven't been able to hear the answer, I'll definitely send you an email after council this evening with my response so that you have it recorded. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Pennefather. Next from Jennifer Melnick, 140 Valentine Avenue South. Hello, my question is about the recent shots fired gun incident on Broughton Campbell. What does the city know about the incident after police investigated shell casings? And what is the city doing to protect its citizens from gun violence? Thank you. Once again, Councillor Small-Pennefather, she's quite busy tonight,
yes.
I can see.
Thank you, Madame Premier. And just like a response to Ms. Nichols earlier, when an incident becomes a police investigation, we're no longer privy to that information. It's, again, the jurisdiction of the SPVM, so it isn't something that we're made aware of once it becomes a police matter, and it is a police investigation. While it's under investigation, unless anything is released in the public media, we don't have additional information on that. And again, with regards to your question about gun violence, I agree with you. It's a concern across the city, across the province, across the country, and we continue to work with our partners, which again is the SPVM that has the mandate under criminal activity. But again, we will continue to work with our colleagues at the SPVM. And again, I'll mention that if anybody sees any kind of suspicious activity, to please call 911. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Pennefather. Last is not a question, it's a comment, and it's a very positive, and we're going to finish this question period in a very positive note. Is Madame Suzanne Schick, I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing your name properly or not, so I apologize, of 153 Strathern Avenue North. She sent a note saying, during the absolutely hottest day in September, the Public Works guys patched over numerous potholes and cracks on Strathern Avenue North, the block between Curzon and Nelson. They worked extremely hard in the unrelenting sun, and the temperatures were in the 30s for the entire week they were here. We would like to thank them profusely for doing so under such brutal conditions. It was definitely noted, and we greatly appreciate them trying to somehow improve the road surface for us and our cars. Many thanks from 153 Strathern Avenue North to those outstanding Public Works guys. Thank you so much for sending such a wonderful note. I know Public Works always appreciate hearing from you. And I don't know if Councillor Yulin wants to add something.
Well, just to thank you for thanking them, because they do work tremendously hard, and of course in those weather conditions it is brutal. So thank you for recognizing that. I'll be sure to send that along to Public Works so they can see your comments. I have a note here that particular section of town was able to be worked on in particular because of the tree cover that we have in that area that allowed them to work in the street under those conditions where they otherwise would not have been able to do so had there not been any tree cover. So I appreciate your comment, and I'll be sure to pass it on.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. So this ends the first question period. Now moving on to number 9, contracts and town clerk's office. I'm sorry, I'm going to read the first line, which is amendment de la résolution 22-30-1-30-004.
Je propose que le dispositif de résolution numéro 202-301-30-004 soit remplacé par le suivant. Que la Ville de Montréal-Ouest paie un montant de $2,000 à M. Clifford Jordan pour l'assister dans ses besoins matériels durant sa convalescence. Numéro 2, que la résolution numéro 202-30-08-06 soit abrogée.
Merci, Councillor Small Pennefather. Il y a quelqu'un qui peut le seconder?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Tout en favor?
Oui.
Number 10, Administration and Finances. Approval of disbursement August 26 to September 22nd, 2023.
Yes, Madam Pro Mayor. I move that the list of accounts payable from August 26th to September 22nd, 2023, totaling $633,706.47, be approved and paid as listed.
Who can second this?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oui, aye.
B, délégation des pouvoirs pour le mois de septembre 2023.
Oui, Madame Promer. Je propose d'approuver le rapport de la directrice générale concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement numéro 2005-002 pour le mois de septembre 2023.
Merci, conseillère Yulin. Est-ce que j'ai quelqu'un qui peut le seconder?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, tout en favor?
Oui.
Oui.
C, temporary financing, current operation and infrastructure project.
Yes, just to clarify, this is what I spoke about briefly in my report, and also to say that there's 3 amounts you'll hear in this resolution, and one of them for the $3 million that's already existing, and the same with the $1 million loans. So these are temporary loans. It's an agreement we have with the Royal Bank, and the one that is new is the short-term financing. As I say, short-term till we get the government grant for the recreation facility. So let me start. Whereas the Town of Montreal-West has adopted bylaw number 2023-001, amended in bylaw number 2023-003, to order the construction of work of a new sports and recreation center and to authorize a loan in the amount of $34,004,710, whereas the necessary loan or loans will be contracted by means of long-term bonds after a significant part of the work are completed, whereas in the meantime, the town needs credit facilities for this purpose as well as for its current operations, whereas paragraph 2 of section 567 of the Cities and Towns Act provides that the town council may by resolution contract temporary loans for the payment of current administrative expenses as well as to pay all or part of the expenses made under a loan bylaw. Therefore, I move, first, that the Town of Montreal-West accept the terms and conditions of an agreement on credit facilities for temporary financing with the Royal Bank of Canada as follows. First, $3 million revolving demand facility to meet current expenditures pending the collection of budgeted income. 2, $16,323,745, revolving demand facility for the construction of a new sports and recreation center. Third, $1,135,400 non-revolving term facility for the acquisition of capital assets. 2, that the line of credit for operating budget and capital assets expenses up to amounts be authorized up to amounts under facilities 1 and 2. 3, that the financing under facility 3 be approved up to amount of $1,373,000. 4, that the signature of this agreement by the Director General and the Treasurer be approved.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Councillor Fili. Can I have someone to second this?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Yuling. Everybody in favor?
Yes, aye.
Okay. Thank you. Now we're moving on to the Urban Department, Site Planning Projects and Architectural Integration Programs, SPAIP.
1, I acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee on September 20th, 2023. 2, to approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 244 Westminster North, capping of the front stairs and landing. 17 Crestwood, replacement of 7 windows. 57 Wolseley North, basement extension under an existing sunroom, addition of a basement window and modifications to openings on the newly extension project. 45 Westminster South, replacement of proposed brick for the new construction. 3, to approve with conditions under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of PAC as outlined in the minutes. 259 Brock North, replacement of the railings on the front stairs and landing. 35 Brock North, addition of a window on the rear facade second floor. 270 Sheraton, installation of an exterior elevator in the front for wheelchair access. 4, to defer the examination of the following plans to the next meeting of this council in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 132 Sheraton, capping of the front stairs and landing in pavers. 11 Valentine South, replacement of 13 windows, a patio door and painting of the windows, shutters, fascia, soffits, and cladding.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Pennefather. I'm not too sure I heard right, but 35, I think you said 35 Brock North, and it's 35 Valentine North. I just want to make sure.
Yes, 35 Valentine North.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Who would like to move this motion? Or
I'll second that.
it? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Moving on to Public Works, Emergency Repairs, Sherbrooke and Westminster. On July 20th, 2023, a pavement void was discovered on Sherbrooke near the Westminster intersection. This was the second void in the same area as the one in May. The area was immediately blocked off and camera inspection was scheduled to get a better idea of the problem. The camera pass into the sewers show a long section of brick sewer that has no floor. The bottom of the sewer is missing, compromised, causing material to flow out. Another section of brick sewer has been compromised. The Public Works Department suspected that heavy rains had damaged the already fragile and old sewer. The void also appeared just after the heavy rains. On July 28th, the administration received a service offer from Manor Dex, a company specializing in underground infrastructure repairs in urban areas. Since this was an emergency situation, and as advised by the interim Director General, the Major approved the awarding of this contract on July 29th, in keeping with Section 573, period 2 of the Cities and Towns Act. Work began on August 21st, 2023. Sherbrooke Street was closed from Westminster to Valentine, and it was the last time the work was carried out there. The work lasted 6 days, including asphalt repairs. 2 hard layers of concrete were encountered that they were very difficult to excavate. The total amount invoiced for this contract is $58,671 with 44 cents before taxes. Next, rental of a bulldozer with operator. Councillor Yuling?
Certainly. This is for snow removal operations.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas the town of Montreal-West issued a call for tender for the purpose of awarding a rental contract for a bulldozer with operator for winter seasons 2023-24, 2024-25, and 2025-26. Whereas 5 tender documents were ordered by contractors, whereas 3 tenders were received and evaluated, Therefore, I move that this rental contract be awarded to Transport Camille Dion 1991 Incorporated, being the lowest conforming bidder on the basis of an hourly rate of $185 in 2023-24, $185 in 24-25, and $85 in 25-26, excluding taxes in every case. Secondly, that this expense be charged to budget account 02-330-00419.
Can I have someone to second this motion?
Yes, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Location d'une souffleuse à neige avec opérateur et signaleur.
Oui, Madame Promer. Attendu que la ville de Montréal-Ouest a procédé à un appel d'offres public aux fins d'octroi d'un contrat de location d'une souffleuse à neige avec opérateur et signaleur pour les saisons hivernales 2023 à 2024, 2024 à 2025 et 2025 à 2026. Attendu que 2 documents d'appel d'offres ont été commandés, attendu qu'une soumission a été reçue et évaluée. En conséquence, je propose que ce contrat de location soit adjugé au plus bas submissionnaire conforme, entreprise Canbec Construction Incorporée, sur la base d'un taux horaire de $565 en 2023-24, $575 en 2024-2025 et $585 en 2025-26, ce prix excluant les taxes, et que cette dépense soit imputée au poste budgétaire 02-330-00-419.
Merci, conseillère Fini. Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour appuyer cette motion?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, conseillère Small Pennefather. Rental of 2 graders with operation.
Tout en faveur?
Oh, tout en faveur.
Oui.
Oui.
Okay. We continue with the rental of equipment for snow clearing operations. So, rental of 2 graders with operator.
Whereas the town of Montreal-West issued a public call for tenders for the purpose of awarding a rental contract for 2 graders with operator for winter seasons 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025, and 25, 26. Whereas 3 tender documents were ordered by contractors, whereas 1 tender was received and evaluated. Therefore, I move that this rental contract be awarded to Dragon Construction Limité, being the lowest conforming bidder on the basis of an hourly rate for each unit of $434 in 2023-24, $484 in 24-25, and $534 in 25-26, excluding taxes in every case. 2, that this expense be charged to budget account 02-330-00-419.
Thank you, Councillor Small Pennefather. Who can second this motion?
Yes, I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Snow removal on Notre Dame West. Well, that would be me. Whereas the town issued a public call for tenders for the purpose of snow removal contract on the section of Notre Dame Street West, which is in Montreal-West, for the winter season 2023 to 24, from 2024 to 2025, and from 2025 to 2026. Whereas 6 contractors ordered the tender document, whereas 3 tenders were received and evaluated. Therefore, I move that this snow removal contract be awarded to Entreprise Cambec Construction, Inc., being the lowest confirming bidder on the basis of a monthly rate of $9,776 in 2023 to 2024, $10,168 in 2024 to 2025, and $10,168 in 2025 to 2026, including taxes in every case. That secondly and last, that this expense be charged to budget account 02-330-00-419. Can I have someone to second this motion?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Supply of road salt. Let me see. Okay, Councillor Yulin.
Yes, indeed. All right. Whereas the City of Montreal issued a public call for tender for the purpose of awarding a supply contract for road salt for the winter of 2023-24. Whereas this call for tender was conducted on behalf of the boroughs and all the reconstituted municipalities, including the town of Montreal-West. Therefore, I move that this supply contract be awarded to Compass Minerals Canada Corporation, being the lowest conforming bidder in the group of which the town of Montreal-West is a member, on the basis of a price of $89.53 per metric ton, including delivery costs plus taxes. And secondly, that this expense be charged to budget code 02-330-00629.
Thank you, Councillor Yulin. Can I have someone to second?
I
this
second
motion?
that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Number 13, human resources. We have nothing under these items, so we move to 14, appointments, pension plan committee. Councillor Yulin?
Yes, sure. I move to appoint the following people as representatives of the employer on the pension plan committee of the employees' pension plan for the town of Montreal-West. Councillor Colleen Feeney, Maitre Raphael Distasio, Director General, Ms. Valentina Maria Todoran, Treasurer, Maitre Claude Gilbert, Town Clerk.
Second.
Oh, excusez-moi. To repeal Resolution 2022-1219-010, abbreviation 2.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Do I have someone to second this motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Small Benefather. Now we're going
All
into
in favor?
All in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 15, deposit of documents. Annual report on drinking water, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. This document, which the town is required to submit to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and was approved by the said ministry, was tabled with council. Number 16, notice of motion, reading and adoption of bylaws. This is a number of bylaws that today we're going to be, some of them, we had the notice a couple of weeks ago, and now we would just move them. So let me see, can I have someone to start? Councillor Small Benefather, please.
Adoption du règlement numéro 405 trédino 41, règlement amende le règlement de circulation numéro 405. Attendu qu'une copie du projet de règlement a été déposée lors d'une séance précédente, lors de l'avis de motion a été donné et mise à la disposition du public en conformité de la loi. Attendu que lors de la présente séance, l'objet de la portée de ce règlement ont été résumés. En conséquence, je propose que le règlement numéro 405-41, intitulé Règlement amendant le règlement de circulation numéro 405 soit adopté.
Merci, Councillor Small Benefather. Est-ce que j'ai quelqu'un qui peut appuyer cette motion?
Oui, je l'appuie.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to give a little bit explanation on this. We're adding some parking restrictions in certain areas of Montreal-West just for cleaning purposes. So that's what we just approved. We're going to vote for it right now. All in favor?
Aye.
Adoption of bylaw number 2023-006, bylaw amending bylaw number 2007-005 relating to tariff. In here, we're updating the tariff, and some of them, for example, are for public the use of public domain and and we're also introducing other ones. Can I have someone to move?
Yes. Whereas a copy of this bylaw and draft version was previously tabled at a council meeting when the notice of motion was given and made available in accordance with the law. Whereas the purpose and scope of this bylaw was summed up at the present meeting, therefore I move that bylaw number 2023-006, entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw number 2007-005, relating to tariffs, be adopted.
Can I have someone to second this?
As I
Motion?
second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next one, adoption of bylaw 2023-007, bylaw amending bylaw number 2008-004, concerning the sanitation and maintenance of dwellings. It deals that with the power that now Urban Planning Department would have to intervene in the maintenance of all buildings. When the buildings are not in proper shape and it has some sanitation problems or crumblings or maintenance, right now we can send a notice from the Urban Planning Department. We can send a notice, and after we can have some different interventions. What this bylaw is saying now is that it also includes buildings, as in the industrial commercial buildings, not only dwellings. So can I have someone to move?
Yes, Madame Pro-Mayor.
Yes.
Whereas a copy of this bylaw in draft version was previously tabled at council meeting when the notice of motion was given and made available in accordance with the law. Whereas the purpose and scope of this bylaw were summed up at the present meeting, therefore I move that bylaw number 2023-007, entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw number 2008-004, concerning the sanitation and maintenance of dwellings, be adopted.
Can I have someone to second it?
I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Euling. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, adoption of bylaw number 2023-008, bylaw amending permit, bylaw number 2009-011. This bylaw deals with, right now, if you want to install mechanical equipment outside your house, you are authorized to do it. We have certain restrictions. However, we're having trouble because some people are installing it in different places and the wrong places. So this makes it a bylaw that now they have to have a permit just for us to ensure that they are installed properly. Can I have someone to move?
Certainly. Whereas a copy of this bylaw in draft version was previously tabled at a council meeting when the notice of motion was given and made available in accordance with the law. Whereas the purpose and scope of this bylaw were summed up at the present meeting, therefore I move that bylaw number 2023-008, entitled Bylaw Amending Permit Bylaw number 2009-0011, be adopted.
Can I have, thank you, Councillor Euling. Can I have someone to second this motion?
Yes, I second that.
Thank you, Councillor Fini. All in favor?
Aye.
The next one, it deals with the demolition of properties. This bylaw is giving more provisions or guidelines. The guidelines are more precise when it comes to demolition of properties. In the past, we were criticized or asked to have more information, and that's what it is. We are being more specific on the guidelines of demolition. Est-ce que je peux voir quelqu'un qui peut proposer?
Oui, Madame la Pro-Maire. Attendu qu'une copie du projet de règlement a été déposée lors d'une séance précédente, lorsque l'avis de motion a été donné et mise à la disposition du public en conformité à la loi, attendu que lors de la présente séance, l'objet et le portée de ce règlement ont été résumés. En conséquence, je propose que le règlement numéro 2023-009, intitulé Règlement amendant le règlement numéro 2016-010, concernant la démolition d'immeubles, soit adopté.
Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un qui peut seconder ou appuyer?
Oui, Madame la mairesse suppléant, je l'appuie.
Merci, conseillère Fini et Small Penny Father. All in favor? Tout en favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Now we move on to the second public question period. You are invited to ask questions concerning the matters on the agenda of these meetings. We have any questions? Yeah? Yeah, please go ahead.
Do you want to, yeah, you have to, because we're recording all this, so it's best you stand at the mic, yeah.
And give your name and address again, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Focus 24 Westover. Just to understand if we can be made aware or have the ability to understand how many tenders for the various providers or suppliers and what their names are. Is that possible? Is that information that's available?
The float?
Okay, you can speak to the council.
This is a general question, not specifically for this, but is this information
Yes,
transparent
it's
and
public.
available?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
It's public, yeah.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
you
that
can
is
contact-
it's on the Montreal-Ouest website? Or I have to make a request? Okay, to Public Works, is that who? I should direct it to?
To the town clerk,
Town clerk.
yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Merci.
Okay,
That's it, that's all.
okay, oui.
Est-ce que je peux demander à quelqu'un de lever de la séance et proposer pour lever la séance?
Oui, je propose de lever la séance.
Est-ce que je peux avoir quelqu'un pour le seconder?
Je l'appuie.
Merci, conseillère Yulen Egefini. Tout en favor?
Oui.
Oui.
Bon.
I'm sorry for the glitches and all that. I'm not used to. I admire Mayor Masala for keeping up track of everything. And I thank my fellow councillors for